Welcome to this explainer. Usually when we look at writing carved into ancient walls, we just see it as, well, static architectural decoration. Beautiful, sure, but silent. Today, though, we are going to completely reframe how you look at ancient typography. We're talking about a highly dynamic, functional technology that actually evolved to solve some incredibly specific, real-world problems. We're going to dig into three major eras of Arabic calligraphy, looking at how the shifting demands of society and their distinct geometric features literally tell the story of human progress.
So, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Chronicles beyond simple decoration. 2. Kufic, limits of strict geometry. 3. Naskh, the speed empires demanded. 4. Thuluth, explosion of massive emotion. And 5. The unending universe of scripts.
All right, part 1, Chronicles beyond simple decoration.
These scripts, they're really a living chronicle. They didn't just pop out of nowhere. They evolved organically across centuries. Every single shift we're looking at, from the 7th century Kufic script to the 10th century Naskh and then the 11th century Thuluth, was a direct response to the historical, administrative, and aesthetic demands of a rapidly expanding empire.
The crucial takeaway here is that calligraphy is a living technology. Human culture and societal needs absolutely dictate design. When the world changes, our visual language just has to keep up, turning simple letters into the ultimate reflection of human history.
Moving right along to part 2, Kufic, limits of strict geometry.
So, Kufic is the absolute earliest form of Islamic calligraphy, and it proudly rocks this strict vertical and horizontal geometric aesthetic. We are not talking about casual handwriting here. You can see its incredibly solemn majesty in the very first inscriptions inside the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, all the way back in 692 AD. You'll also find it in the legendary 9th century blue Quran from Tunisia. Early Kufic literally excluded round curves completely. It was this sublime, angular symbol meant to spark absolute awe, not just to be quickly skimmed over.
And this brilliantly shows how form perfectly follows function. Base Kufic's angular, rigid geometry was absolutely perfect for carving into cold stone, stamping onto coins, or building into brick patterns, places where curves are just a total nightmare to execute. Now, over time, it evolved into these crazy decorative heights. Artists started adding vine patterns to the ends of letters for floral Kufic, and eventually engineered square Kufic, creating this perfect maze-like symmetry. But as beautiful as this strict geometric solemnity was, it hit a fatal flaw.
Here is the problem. A script designed for slow, deliberate carving into cold stone simply couldn't survive the changing pace of human history. Think about it for a second. The strict geometry required way too much time and way too much specialized skill to actually write and read on a day-to-day basis.
So hold on to that thought. Ask yourself, what happens when a society suddenly hits a massive growth spurt? As the empire expanded exponentially, the sheer volume of knowledge, books, and just everyday administrative documents absolutely exploded. The slow, rigid beauty of Kufic collided head-on with a desperate societal need for a completely new rhythm.
Which brings us to part 3, Naskh, the speed empires demanded.
The radical shift here is just instant. On one hand, you have the rigid limitations of Kufic. On the other, Naskh. The strict geometry of the past was totally shattered to meet the high-speed administrative demands of the Abbasid dynasty. Naskh broke the letters right out of their geometric prison, giving them beautifully flowing curves designed exclusively for paper, bringing unparalleled efficiency and readability.
And the genius behind this massive redesign? A 10th century vizier and master calligrapher named Ibn Muqla. This guy revolutionized everything. He didn't just freehand these new curves, he engineered them. He created a mathematical system using circles and rhombus-shaped dots to calculate a golden ratio. This system perfectly controlled the proportions of every single letter. Basically, he used exact calculated math to let letters swim elegantly and swiftly right across the page.
Honestly, the impact of this cannot be overstated. Naskh became the standard for the Quran and essentially democratized knowledge across the Islamic world simply because it was finally easy to read and write. But here's the really mind-blowing part. The everyday, highly legible fonts you are reading right now on your computer screens and smartphones, they are direct, unbroken descendants of this 10th century archaeological revolution. Crazy, right?
All right, part 4, Thuluth, explosion of massive emotion.
As we roll into the 11th century, we see another dramatic shift. Enter the Thuluth script. The name literally means 1/3. This comes from either its exact ratio of straight lines to curved lines or the sharp, precise angle that the calligrapher cuts their bamboo pen.
With Thuluth, artists totally threw off the shackles of simple, everyday readability to create something completely transcendent.
Thuluth was pushed to the absolute pinnacle of art by master giants like Yaqut al-Mustasimi. It stopped being just writing. It started functioning as a massive, abstract painting. The strokes are gigantic. They intertwine, they cross over each other. They flow outward like rhythmic waves. Just imagine standing in the center of a grand mosque, looking way up into a soaring, monumental dome, or gazing at the Qibla wall. You see these massive, flowing strokes literally commanding the entire rhythm of the architectural space. It induces pure, overwhelming religious catharsis.
This script was once described as a visual explosion, leaping across a millennium, daring any modern pop art or typography experiment to imitate it. That perfectly captures the sheer emotional gravity and majestic scale of Thuluth. It really proves this wasn't just text. It was a massive visual explosion of human emotion. The way these letters manipulate space and elevate the viewer's feelings still humbles modern designers today. For sure, no modern pop art can quite match the sheer scale and intent of these magnificent centuries-old strokes.
And finally, Part 5, the unending universe of scripts.
The calligraphy family tree just kept branching out across borders and centuries. Over in 14th century Persia, the culture desperately needed a way to capture the romance of their courtly literature. The result? Naskh, a dreamy, almost gravity-defying script that was just perfect for flowing poetry. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire needed a way to securely and beautifully disguise the royal edicts. So they invented Diwani, this incredibly ornate, boat-shaped script specifically designed to be secretive and super difficult to forge. In every single instance, the geometry of the letters morphed perfectly to fit the exact cultural and societal need of the time.
Which leaves us with this final thought. We've seen how the need to carve stone created rigid Kufic, how the need for speed birthed the curved Naskh, and how the need for awe exploded into Thuluth. So, as you look at the text surrounding you in your everyday life, the fonts on your favorite apps, the typography on your clothes, the way we type to each other literally right now, ask yourself, how are our current human needs secretly shaping the fonts of tomorrow? What exactly will our aesthetic desires give birth to next? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep looking closely at the world around you.